Hi everyone, my name is Lorraine Ball and I'm helping my daughter put together a presentation, just cooking a family meal. Our family meal is going to be comprised of some homemade french fries, some chicken drumsticks with a lovely rub all over them, and we'll give you that recipe. It'll be posted alongside with the YouTube video on how to prepare the food. And looking forward to spending some time with you and getting to know you a little bit better and making a lovely meal as well. Currently what I'm doing is slicing up some potatoes in order to make the homemade french fries. We cut them as close to french fry format as possible, just so that they resemble what you can get in the stores or in the restaurants. Just makes them taste a little bit better, knowing that you're eating something similar. I can assure you that they will taste much better than what you can get in the store or in a restaurant. You'll see if you get together and follow our recipe and cook it for yourselves. So again, just slicing all of these up. I think I have enough. Then what we're going to do is we're going to smother them in olive oil. So the olive oil gets mixed all over the potatoes so that we can prepare them as appropriate to be able to put into the air fryer. So we're just making sure that they're all covered up with the olive oil. And this will make them nice and crispy. Olive oil is a little healthier for you as opposed to other oils, and it actually works very well with vegetables because it enhances the freshness of all vegetables and brings out the natural flavors. So here we have our potato slices all smothered in the oil, and we're going to turn on the Ninja Foodie. Alright, so here we are turning on the air fryer. There's the on button here. We're going to select the air crisp feature. And we're going to set the temperature to, well, the timer can be set to 20, and then the temperature is going to be set to 360. And then we push the on button and then it starts. So we're going to just throw our french fries in. There we go. You don't want too many in there. Otherwise they won't cook properly and they'll get mushy at the bottom. So now we shut our lid and the countdown is done for you automatically. It's a lovely device that does all kinds of wonderful things for you. Well, now that we've got our french fries in the Ninja Foodie and they're just racing away there, we're going to prepare the rub for the chicken drumsticks. And we've got a few ingredients. I've got them all set out here. We'll mix them up in a bowl, and I'll read the ingredients off one by one as we measure them out, and again we'll post it so that you have the ingredients should you wish to give this recipe a try. I have to tell you that it is an absolutely fantastic recipe. Drumsticks aren't the most valuable piece of the chicken, but if you use this particular rub, it actually makes a wonderful, wonderful meal. So do give it a try. It's worth it, worth your while. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is get a teaspoon of salt. Now, with the salt, we like to use sea salt. It doesn't matter what kind. Sometimes we use the pink Himalayan. This one just happens to be a regular sea salt. So we're going to use a teaspoon of that. And the next ingredient is 1 teaspoon of pepper. That gets mixed in with the salt. I'm just going to mix all of the dry ingredients into this small bowl here. After the pepper, then we want 1 teaspoon of garlic. So again, directly into the bowl of dry ingredients. So a teaspoon of the garlic, and in she goes. And after the onion, then what we want to put in is paprika. There's lots of different types of paprika. We like the smoked paprika. Just adds another little element of smoky flavor to your rub that you apply to your drumsticks. And last but not least, and this is probably the most important ingredient that you'll use with your drumstick, and you can put as much as you want in. The more that you put in, it gives it a smokier and a bit more spicy flavor. So for our purposes, we add, the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon. We add a heaping teaspoon just because we like a little bit of spice here in our family. So this is all mixed up now. This is considered the rub. That's it, just 5 or 6 ingredients to mix that all up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take olive oil, again, another favorite ingredient that we use in this house, and we're going to take our drumsticks and we're going to rub olive oil all over them. So I'm just going to open up this package of chicken. We'll throw it into a Ziploc bag with the oil, shake it all up, and then we'll apply our rub. All right, here we go. First tablespoon of the olive oil. Nice rich color. We use Gallo. It's extra virgin olive oil. We'll put that right into the bag, and just one more after that. And in she goes. We like the Ziploc bags. We reuse them quite frequently. We rewash them. We can use them multiple times, but they're great for storing items, but also they're great for this particular feature, which is just to throw them into the throw the drumsticks into the bag, and then that way we can get olive oil all over them. So I do 4 at a time, just so that the olive oil is evenly dispersed all over. And so it's just a matter of doing this, and you can see them, the color of the drumsticks changing a little bit, so that you know that the olive oil is adhering to them quite nicely. So here's our rub, and we're going to just make sure that that's all mixed up nicely, and then we're going to put it into a Ziploc bag along with the chicken drumsticks. Again, we're going to seal this all up, make sure that the air is excluded from the bag when you zip that all up. Just squeeze it out, that's all that it takes. Alright, so we're all zipped up, so now what we were going to do is just shake it all up, kind of like the shake and bake days. Most of these spices have an element of healing powers to them. Some for, especially pepper. Pepper is good for inflammation. Cumin is good for multiple things, honestly, it really is. And so is paprika, so that's why we like this rub so much. It's a wonderful comfort food. You want to make sure that you get it completely, drumsticks completely covered in this rub. You don't want a single part of the drumsticks to not be covered up, because it is very, very flavorful. Okay, our drumsticks are prepared. And once our French fries have finished cooking, then we'll be able to throw our drumsticks into the Ninja Foodie as well. It doesn't have to be a Ninja Foodie, it can be any kind of a device that has an air fryer feature to it. So there we are. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to prepare a Brussels sprout dish along with some corn. So now we're ready to prepare our vegetable dishes. The first vegetable dish that we'll prepare are Brussels sprouts. It's a Brussels sprout and garlic recipe. It's really one that we've sort of made up on our own. I've taken a couple of other recipes that we found online, but just amalgamated into our own. And it's a go-to in our household. We love garlic and we love Brussels sprouts. So hopefully we can share this recipe with you and you'll enjoy it as much as we do. Your garlic cloves usually have a lot of skin on them, and they can be difficult to work with. So normally what I do is I take the whole garlic clove and I just squish it down with the palm of my hand. It separates all the garlic cloves. They'll still have the skin on them, but the majority of it will be removed. Now with these, when they have the skin on them still, I take the knife and I squish it flat like this, and that just makes it that much easier for the peel to be removed. That's just like magic. So the others have the skin already removed, except for this one, so we'll do the same thing. Again, take the palm of your hand, down with your knife, and it peels off just like butter. So then what we're going to do with the garlic cloves is just take the ends off, just snip them off at the end, just so that you don't have the crunchy element of the core itself. So there we are, they're all ready to just mince into tiny, tiny little pieces. Just make sure that your knife is sharp and you keep your fingers out of the way. And you can use as many garlic cloves or as few as you want. It just all depends on how much you love garlic. All I'm doing now at this point is just mincing it up into small pieces. Not everybody likes to have a big chunk of garlic in their mouths when they bite down, so the smaller it is, the more enhanced the flavor. All right, so now what we're going to do is take our garlic and put it into our frying pan, and we're going to brown it in the olive oil. Our frying pan is all ready to go. We're just going to pour olive oil in, just enough to cover the bottom. So usually it takes about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half, depending on the size of your frying pan. And then just set your element to about medium. For us, that's 6. And then scrape your garlic into the frying pan. And then we're going to add a couple of other ingredients, which are just the spices. So onion powder, we'll add in a teaspoon of that. Sea salt, so a teaspoon of that. And then our pepper, and just a half a teaspoon, not too much because you don't want to overpower your flavor of your Brussels sprouts. Then I've got my measuring cup here, and we have our baby Brussels sprouts, and this is one of our favorites again, and President's Choice offers them at any of the President's Choice stores like No Frills or the Independent. So I'm just going to fill up the measuring cup. This is a 4-cup measuring cup, and we'll throw those all in. And then what we do is we just keep the heat on, and once the Brussels sprouts are tender, that dish is considered prepared. Okay, so now we're going to make our next vegetable dish, and this one is called honey skillet corn. I'll be looking to my iPad every now and then for the recipe. It's another favorite of ours that we've just recently discovered, and there's actually a secret that we've improvised with that I'm going to share with you in case you don't have any honey. As I said, the name of the recipe is called honey butter skillet corn, but if you don't have any honey, maple syrup will do in a pinch, and we just happen to have some homemade maple syrup. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to put it in this saucepan here. So because I've been cooking for years and years, I just happen to know, excuse me, what 2 tablespoons looks like. So we'll just cheat. So there we go. That's our butter taken care of. And then what we want to do is we want to add 2 tablespoons of honey, but in our case what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. This is maple syrup that we've actually made in Martin River. A number of the ladies along the road got together and tapped the trees and made their own maple syrup. So this is very local. And 1 more tablespoon in. There we are. And we're going to cook the maple syrup and the butter up together until they're fully melted. And then we're going to add our corn into the pot. So we're just going to turn our element on, and best temperature to turn this on to is probably about medium. So in our case it's 6 here. I'm just going to get a spoon so that we can stir that up as needed. Start to really notice a lovely aroma once the 2 ingredients start to melt together. It is a delightful meal. Well, it adds to a delightful meal. The vegetable dish is certainly quite delightful. You'll find the butter takes just a little bit longer to melt because you have the maple syrup. Maple syrup is thick and there's sugar in it, so it will take a little bit longer. But it will be well worth it. Meanwhile, our Brussels sprouts are cooking away, and we're just going to shake up our frying pan one more time. These are old pots that I got from my grandmother. Oh my gosh, they're probably close to 75 years old, but I just don't have the heart to get rid of them. the old things that last forever. Kind of like me. So while that's starting to melt a little bit and mingle, the flavors are mingling, we'll get our measuring cup out and get our corn out. This is just frozen corn. Doesn't matter what flavor or what brand name you get. I wouldn't get any kind of flavored corn. I should have been careful about saying that. But it certainly doesn't matter what brand you get. So there we go. We've got about 4 cups in there. We'll add the corn in. There we go. So you just stir everything around for a little bit so that the corn absorbs the butter and the maple syrup flavoring. And there will be a little bit of liquid that comes from element of the corn being frozen, which is good because there is a secret ingredient that we add to it afterwards that will thicken it up so it is very much like creamed corn that you would normally get in a Green Giant can of creamed corn. But this just happens to be homemade. Now while that's cooking, our French fries have just notified us that they are ready to take out of the air fryer. Just check and make sure that these are done, and that looks a far sight better than they did earlier. So I'm going to take a pair of tongs, just scoop them out. You must be careful. The Ninja Foodie does get quite warm. I'm putting them into an insulated serving bowl just to keep the warmth to them while everything else is being prepared. And we'll just scoop all the last ones out of here, and then we're going to add our famous sea salt. Sea salt is actually quite good for you. And we'll just reach over here and get that. And depending on how much you like salt, then you know what your preference is to how much gets added. Okay. So we'll just get that all mixed in together, shake it up so that the salt gets absorbed into the hot French fries, and that should just let it sit for a minute. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our drumsticks into the air fryer now. So here we go. And just evenly disperse them throughout the air crisper here. And that looks pretty good. So we'll close this up, shut the lid down, and again, we're going to put it on air crisp. And the temperature will be at 390. Pardon me, that temperature, correction, 350. So first of all, the time will be 25 minutes. So 350 for the temperature, and for the timer it's going to be 25 minutes. So we just set that on the digital display there, and then we start. Alright, so now we're at the point where we add the secret ingredient that I keep referring to. That secret ingredient just happens to be cream cheese. The cream cheese is what makes it creamy, for obvious reasons. And once it gets mixed in with corn and the sweetness of the maple syrup, that's what creates that cream flavor. So don't be alarmed if you are going to make this dish that the cream cheese takes a little while to melt. It will. And this is what thickens it up so that you have that nice creamy texture to it when you serve it on your plate with your other condiments. Now, we're just going to take a look at our Brussels sprouts and see how they're doing. As you can see, Brussels sprouts appear to be ready. They've got that nice light green flavorful looking appearance, and they smell heavenly. You've got the garlic rising up from the frying pan as well. I'm having to swallow here a little bit because it's making me hungry because it smells so good. So there we are. We're just going to keep the lid on that to keep that warm, and we'll turn that down onto low because that's ready. We'll go back to our corn now, just to see how the cream cheese is doing. And as I said, it does take a little while to melt. So don't be alarmed and just keep stirring it, and it will eventually all melt together into a wondrous dish. So the last ingredients to put in with this honey skillet corn dish is a little bit of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon, and the same with the sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon. That sea salt adds a wonderful counter flavor to the maple syrup. It enhances all of the flavors. So we just stir that all in, and still waiting for that cream cheese to melt, but I can see that it's starting to melt now, and you can see it just trying to thicken up the liquids that are a result of the butter and of the cream or the maple syrup. So that's going to be ready probably in another 2.5 to 3 minutes. So we'll just keep stirring that periodically. And in the meantime, our drumsticks are air crisping away in the Ninja Foodie. I hope you're looking forward to a nice family meal like this and enjoying it alongside with us. All right, so our corn is finished now. I'm going to take the lid off and show you what it looks like. So as you can see, we've got that nice creamy texture to it, just like you would get in a can of Green Giant creamed corn. And this is all homemade, made with maple syrup, cream cheese, some butter, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, and Green Giant is your uncle. There you go. Enjoy. And finally, the chicken drumsticks are ready. Look at that. Nice and plump from the air crisper. And you can see that that rub is all over them. I'm going to put a couple on the plate there. Look at that. It smells wonderful. Add your homemade French fries to that, your Brussels sprouts, and your cream corn, and you have a meal fit for a king. All for just pennies, and everything is homemade. You can't get any better than that. So bon appetit, everyone. Looking forward to our next session. Take care.